Well, we're down to the wire and they're having dueling rallies. So we're going to look at that and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the other things in the news, including something I found about communism being illegal in the United States. So stick with me, folks, and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and wow, I've got a lot to share with you. You know, it's as usual these days. So much happening, so let's get going. First of all, I wanted to start out with a smile and the Babylon Bee, because I'm recording this on Halloween night, and I thought I would give you this one to put in here. Bernie Sanders cheerily greets trick-or-treaters before stealing their candy for redistribution. So, yeah, if you have a child and you want to teach them about what Bernie Sanders stands for, take all of their candy and redistribute it, okay? See how they react. Yeah, not too well, I guess. So, anyway, I just wanted to give you that little chuckle. Remember, the Babylon Bee is a parody news, fake news you can trust. So, just be aware of that, okay? And evidently Facebook doesn't understand that because they did cause them some issues. So anyway, going on with something that isn't fake news, look at this. 96 miles of Trump supporters in Arizona. This is wonderful. Let me play it. I've got the sound off, but there's music and everything, but look at this. Just, you know, keeps going and going and going and going. I love it. This is Arizona. Wow. Wow. I want Arizona to go red. What about you? I think there's going to be some surprise red states this time. I really think so. I mean, look at this. It just keeps going. This is great. So, anyway, and this was on the 25th when this was. So, I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share it with you. I like encouraging you to see some of the things out there that you're not going to see on the mainstream news. And speaking of that, check this out. This was the crowd today in Butler, Pennsylvania. Look at that crowd. That's huge. Oh my goodness. Look at it. It's just a sea of people. Oh, I just can't even imagine. Oh, I so wish I could go to one of these. But anyway, this is what Ronna McDaniel says here. Huge crowds for Donald Trump's rallies today and tons of new voters. Look at this. 43,673 signups. Those are people who are now going to be able to vote in Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. That's so exciting. Look at that. And as I've been saying, you know, the Trump team has really been focusing on a couple of groups. One of them are people that haven't voted in the last few presidential elections because they weren't real thrilled about the choices. And I totally understand that because I had to hold my nose to vote for McCain and for Romney. I really did not want to. And when Donald Trump won the primaries, I wasn't exactly thrilled. I mean, I figured logistically he was probably our best chance, but I wasn't behind him on it. You know, it was another one of those, oh, am I going to have to hold my nose to vote for this guy too? But then I started looking into him and wow, I was very impressed. So by the time it came to cast my vote in 2016, I was okay with it. I really was. I was behind that vote. But I'm even more so behind it now because this guy has just done more than I even thought he would do. Like I said, they're getting people who were Republicans who didn't vote, maybe, but they're also getting new people who haven't voted at all, ever. And that's what's not being factored into these polls. Keep that in mind. We're talking 43,000 new signups just today on the 31st when I'm recording this. Look at this. They had 23% of those were from Reading, 24.1% from Butler, and 28.8% at Montoursville. Boy, I tell you, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's got to go red. I just don't see any way around it with this kind of numbers and, you know, this picture. How can it not? Because that wasn't the only one. There were 3 of them today, and all 3 of them had crowds like this, at least from what I saw. So, incredible. Well, and what was Joe Biden doing? Well, he did have a couple of things, I think. I'm not sure on that. But I know for Sunday, November 1st, Biden's going to go to Pennsylvania again. He doesn't go anywhere except Delaware and Pennsylvania, it seems like, to discuss bringing Americans together to address the crises facing the country and winning the battle for the soul of the nation. In the afternoon, Vice President Biden will deliver remarks at a Souls to the Polls event in Philadelphia to get out the vote with faith voters and leaders, which will be pooled press. And then after, Vice President Biden will deliver remarks at a drive-in event in Philadelphia to encourage Pennsylvanians to vote, which will be pooled press. In the evening, Vice President Biden will attend a Biden for President finance event, which will be pooled press. Okay, so that means he will go to Pennsylvania, and he will go to Philadelphia. Then he'll go to another place in Philadelphia. Then he'll go to the third place in Philadelphia. So, you know, it looks like he's like in Philadelphia the whole time. Meanwhile, what's Trump going to be doing? Well, look at this. He's going to be going to Michigan, and then he's going to Iowa, then he's going to North Carolina, then he's going to Georgia, and then he's going to Florida. I'm serious, folks. 5 in one day, and he's going to do it again on Monday. Except I don't have the list for Monday yet, because if you go here, you know, I'll put all these links down below. You can check out where Trump is going to be. Now, I did this, you know, they still had this one up. This was the one tonight. And, but here starts on Sunday. He's got one at 11 a.m. Eastern in Michigan. He's got one at 1 p.m. Central in Dubuque. He's got Hickory, North Carolina. I have a friend who's from Hickory. I wonder if she's going to go. And that's going to be at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And then he's going to Georgia, and he's going to have one at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And then he's going to be in Opelika, Florida at 11 p.m. Eastern. Okay? And where's Joe going to be? Where? Huh? But yes, he's going then. Oh, yeah, they do have the Sunday ones up. Or Monday. So here he's going to be, on Monday, he's going to be in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Traverse City, Michigan, Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. So Michigan, you get twice there. Woohoo. I wish they weren't so far away from me. Who am I kidding? Right now, I don't have enough energy. I'm not just having a hard enough time keeping up with everything. Just from home. I cannot imagine. This man is a machine. Super Trump. I think we need to make the hashtag Super Trump go just big time. All right? Yeah, I really think we need to. And this is, like I said, a really nice place to kind of keep track of what he's doing. And you can choose who you want here, and then you can choose the type of event. And you can even, you know, if you want to see these specific groups, you can check those. Or if you want to look at a specific state, you can do that too. So just thought I would point that out. For those of you who may live in a non-battleground state like mine, Indiana, you know, don't be discouraged about not having any rallies, because if I remember correctly, when Trump won, he still went around and did some rallies, you know, he saw people. What some of us don't understand, I mean, President Trump is an extrovert. And for those of you who may be introverts like me, sometimes it boggles our mind that he could go out and do all of these different events. I mean, really, seriously, 5 in one day. Oh, he's only doing that 2 different days, but wow. I mean, he's been doing amazing amounts these past few days. So, you know, we don't quite understand it if you're an introvert. It seems crazy to us, but with President Trump being an extrovert, he draws his strength and his energy from being with crowds like that. When he gets up on stage, that is an energizing event for him. And, you know, like for me, if I want to be energized, I like stay home and just kind of close myself off and crochet or play music or whatever, you know, that I just try not to do anything with people in it. And for me, that's energizing. But for an extrovert, being with people energizes them. And I really think that when he gets out there in front of the people, he sees that what he's doing is important I mean, he knows it's important, but when you see all those people who are essentially putting their hopes and dreams on you, then it motivates him and it reminds him what he's doing is just an extremely important thing right now. And I think he feels that sense of just an incredible responsibility. But when he sees the people that he's working for, it makes a huge difference. And for him, that's what he needs to recharge himself to go back into the battle. At least that's how I interpret it, okay? From when you watch him, it just seems like he shines because, like I said, he's just pulling in all the energy. He's absorbing all of that. And I think it's a really good thing then, because it enables him to continue the fight. And it's going to be tough, I tell you. I hope he gets a chance to rest on Wednesday. But it's not going to be over. And I hope he's got a whole big bunch of lawyers all ready to go, because it's going to go legal. It'll get to the Supreme Court. But now we have a majority. Okay, well, now Joe's not doing so hot, okay? Like I said, he's in Philadelphia, and then he's in Philadelphia again, and Philadelphia again. I don't know what he's going to be doing on Monday. I don't have his schedule for that. But he had one today, and Obama was introducing him, and look what happens when Obama introduces him.
Joe Biden! Joe Biden!
Yeah, sorry I had to cut it off because it's got music again. But in other words, Joe didn't come out. I mean, he just kept, look at this. He just keeps standing there and he keeps saying Joe Biden and Joe doesn't appear. So nothing like getting introduced and you don't show up when you're introduced. So, yeah, very interesting on that. And then, listen to this one.
Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
I mean, really, it's a right for what? Let's listen to it
Barack
again.
and I think it's a right for people to have bad health care.
So, the thing is, I totally understand this, because as you get older, sometimes your brain doesn't function on the right level, and you say things, your mouth gets going and says things that just are, kind of slurred together. It does happen, but usually, with me, it happens because of the chronic fatigue syndrome. When I get really, really, really tired, I just I'm only half here. So I do understand that it can happen, but I'll tell you what, if you're having that happen, you really should not be running for president of the United States. I don't think you're going to have much sympathy from somebody like Putin or Kim Jong-un or President Xi. You're just not going to get them to be nice to you just because your cognitive abilities are not good. Oh, so, yeah, bad the whatever it was. So, Joe, having trouble. And then I don't have the clip of this, but supposedly, it's from Todd Starnes. Biden said, "I don't need you to get me elected." So, yeah, and I like this one. Oh, yeah, insult your voters because that works. So, it is true. I mean, they look down their nose at us, and he has a lot of the earmarks of Hillary at the end, where she was so positive that she was going to win that she felt she didn't have to do anything else. She didn't need to go make any more stops or talk to more of the peons. No, she had it in the bag. Why did she have it in the bag? Because she knew they were going to cheat, but they got caught. So they were stopped from completing what they were going to do. And anyway, I think that's a similar thing that I'm seeing now, that they are so sure he's going to win.
Speaker Pelosi also had an ominous proclamation that she offered up today. She vowed that Joe Biden will be inaugurated as president, no matter what the final vote tallies, no matter what the final vote is.
I feel very confident that Joe Biden will be elected president on Tuesday, whatever the end the count is, but on the election that occurs on Tuesday, he will be elected. On January 20th, he will be inaugurated President of the United States.
But anyway, I wanted to just point that out. National File has this, caught on tape, Houston poll judge admits to illegally casting vote for a voter. And not only that, but this is what it says. A Harris County, Texas precinct polling judge in Houston admitted to other election officials that he knowingly broke the law by casting a vote for a voter who entered the polling station. The poll judge confessed to the law-breaking in an audio-taped conversation obtained by National File. The precinct polling judge was previously investigated by the Democrat Harris County Clerk's Office for allegedly voting for a voter in the past, but the Democrat clerk decided to leave this man in his position. Meanwhile, the precinct polling judge's assistant, hired by Harris County, is a registered sex offender for sexually assaulting a 13-year-old girl. Yeah. So that's the kind of people they got there. I'll leave you the article. You can read the rest of it if you want to. And then here's a clip of the confession. So if you want to read that, you can check that out and watch that video. Okay, now I don't know how many of you are familiar with the We Are the News site. I use it all the time, and some of the stuff that I pick up is from there. I mean, I get from different sources, but this is one of the sources I go to as well, because there are hundreds of people who are researching different topics, and this is kind of like where the information goes. And so if you go there, you get the access to hundreds of researchers' work instead of just all doing it on your own. And you can pick up on better things this way. The problem is, if you look at this, it says 1 week ago is when this was last updated. It usually updates every hour. And the reason for this is because the boards right now, the research boards, are having a real issue with the bakers. Now, the bakers are the people that go through and pick up the crumbs on the board, which is called a bread, and they put those in the notables. They fix it all up, and then at the beginning of every board, every bread, there's a dough, which is all the information that, they've picked up all these notables, and the start of every board is the same all the way through. So the problem we've been having is there are a lot of shill bakers, and sometimes they start another board and they're not supposed to. It was supposed, the bakers are getting it all mixed up, and it's just, there's a lot of hassling going on. I honestly don't understand it all because I'm not part of the bakers, and it just has been really difficult because sometimes there's 2 or 3 boards at the same time with the same numbers, and you don't know which one is the real one and which one is, it's been crazy. And some of the bakers have been changing things they're not supposed to change without, everybody's consensus. So it has been a really irritating time. The boss man said to clean it up and to get things in order because I think we're going to be inundated pretty soon and we need to have things ready to go. So this is a very bad timing for it, but I can understand why there might be someone or ones that want to undermine this. So anyway, the problem we have is that it's not updating. It hasn't updated for a week at least. And I don't know when it's going to update. This guy says, the guy that runs that site says, the site will be up when we have a few hours to deal with this again. It is somewhere between a half day and a full day of work to properly clean up after an outbreak on the boards. It's a bit like disinfecting everything for COVID, but online. If you want We Are the News to keep updating immediately 100% of the time, then the best thing you can do is get on the boards, make sure the board owner, board volunteers, bakers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Other new aggregator sites that do not rely on We Are the News are also very welcome. Diversity is strength, as they say, but in this case, it's actually true. So if you are somebody who knows how to do coding, you're very comfortable with the website coding and everything, if you want to come up with some kind of website aggregator, you can do that, and it would be greatly appreciated. But do be aware that people that are doing that are probably going to be targeted in some way. Eventually, you may be doxxed. So just be careful. You don't want that, obviously, but it could happen. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out to you because if you're like me, that's a site that you used a lot and you relied on. And so it's been a little crippling. I mean, obviously, I go to the boards. It's not a big deal. But it does take longer because then you have to check them out. And it just was such a smooth site. You know, when you clicked on something, you could just navigate it really well. It was well done. So I don't know what kind of coding it would take to scoop that stuff up and put it together on a site. So I can't do it. That's for sure. I know a little bit of coding, but not that much. Anyway, let's get going on this because this is one of the major things I wanted to point out to you. Guess what? In 1954, there was a Communist Control Act. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I haven't really seen this has been repealed. So I think this is still in effect. And this was under Eisenhower. And he says, I have today signed Senate Bill 3706, an act to make illegal the Communist Party and to prohibit members of communist organizations from serving in certain representative capacities. Now, I think it's very interesting that the big push has been for socialism. That's the term they're using. When in reality, a lot of the things that they're talking about with the socialism aren't socialist. They're really communist in nature. So I think it's interesting with that. And then if you go down here, it's... You know, it says here, the new law, which I am signing today, includes one of the many recommendations made by this administration to support existing statutes in defeating the communist conspiracy in this country. Administratively, we have in the past 19 months stepped up enforcement of laws against subversives. So I think this is really interesting because he talks about the things that, you know, he signed this bill granting immunity from prosecution to certain suspected persons in order to aid in obtaining the conviction of subversives. Investigation and prosecution of crimes involving national security have been seriously hampered by witnesses who have invoked the constitutional privilege against self-incrimination embodied in the Fifth Amendment. This act provides a new means of breaking through the secrecy which is characteristic of traitors, spies, and saboteurs. So that's a different one than this one I'm going to show you. But still, the Congress has passed a bill providing for the loss of citizenship by those advocating the overthrow of our government by force and violence. I thought that was an interesting point. Anyway, he goes through and says some other things about it. But here's the law that is talking about here. And again, this was August 24th of 1954, and it's Public Law 637. So, to outlaw the Communist Party, to prohibit members of communist organizations from serving in certain representative capacities and for other purposes. And the Congress hereby finds and declares that the Communist Party of the United States, although purportedly a political party, is in fact an instrumentality of a conspiracy to overthrow the government of the United States. It constitutes an authoritarian dictatorship within a republic, demanding for itself the rights and privileges accorded to political parties, but denying to all others the liberties guaranteed by the Constitution. Unlike political parties, which evolved their policies and programs through public means by the reconciliation of a wide variety of individual views and submit those policies and programs to the electorate at large for approval or disapproval, the policies and programs of the Communist Party are secretly prescribed for it by the foreign leaders of the world communist movement. Its members have no part in determining its goals and are not permitted to voice dissent to party objectives. Unlike members of political parties, members of the Communist Party are recruited for indoctrination with respect to its objectives and methods, and are organized, instructed, and disciplined to carry into action slavishly the assignments given them by their hierarchical chieftains. Unlike political parties, the Communist Party acknowledges no constitutional or statutory limitations upon its conduct or upon that of its members. The Communist Party is relatively small numerically and gives scant indication of capacity ever to attain its ends by lawful political means. The peril inherent in its operation arises not from its numbers, but from its failure to acknowledge any limitation as to the nature of its activities, and its dedication to the proposition that the present constitutional government of the United States ultimately must be brought to ruin by any available means, including resort to force and violence. Holding that doctrine, its role as the agency of a hostile foreign power renders its existence a clear and present continuing danger to the security of the United States. It is the means whereby individuals are seduced into the service of the world communist movement, trained to do its bidding, and directed and controlled in the conspiratorial performance of their revolutionary services. Therefore, the Communist Party should be outlawed. So I just thought it was very interesting about this, when they're talking about it. This is the peril inherent, is how it works, and that it pretty much wants to bring the United States to ruin by any available means, including resort to force and violence. Does this sound like any group or groups out there right now? Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? So I'll leave the rest of this for you if you want to read it, but I just thought it was very interesting that it appears that Congress has put down some laws in regards to this kind of subversive activity, and that if you get caught doing this, you lose your citizenship, and also you cannot hold any office. If you're not a citizen, you can't hold the office, right? So I think that's a very important thing too. Anyway, I just found that, it was one of the notables, and I thought I would share it with you because I thought, that's interesting. So anyway, let me go on because I've got still a bunch more to go. This happened actually in 2018 was when this event happened. A woman was ticked off at Susan Collins for voting for Kavanaugh and making her grand speech there that she did, Kavanaugh. And so this woman sent a letter to Susan Collins, and she was convicted. Suzanne Muscara was convicted last November of mailing what she said was a joke letter containing white powder and the word anthrax to the Maine lawmaker's home. And the post office caught it and everything, and she had a stick figure of the Maine Republican with X's for eyes and the tongue sticking out, along with the words anthrax, ha ha ha. The powder was harmless, it wasn't that, and they got a fingerprint off of it. But look, Muscara told investigators she didn't think her letter would be taken seriously. Really? How stupid do you have to be to send a letter like that and to assume that nobody's going to take it seriously? Really? Anyway, so yes, it was a no laughing matter and everything. So the woman was caught fairly soon, and she was just sentenced, okay? So she was arrested in April of 2019, but she was just sentenced. So, it's kind of crazy that it takes so long to have someone sentenced. Obviously, she's been in jail for a year and a half, and that will count towards her time that she has to serve, but still, really? Okay, well, guess what? CNN claims Hunter Biden Burisma deal stinks. Are we waking up some people at CNN? Jake Tapper evidently has acknowledged on Saturday that Hunter Biden's relationship with Burisma, initiated just weeks after his father became the top U.S. diplomat responsible for purging corruption in Ukraine, stinks. And so, yeah, maybe they're waking up. There's the clip of it if you want to watch it. And then they followed up with something even more interesting because they had an opinion piece. And you really need to check through this opinion piece because it's called Donald Trump Deserves a Second Term. Yes, posted on CNN. Serious, folks. I mean, stuff is happening. And it's really interesting that it seems like things are starting to move a little bit and that it's not all being hushed up anymore. It says down here, but after Jack Dorsey, Mark Zuckerberg, and Sundar Pichai were dragged in front of a Senate committee this week and mercilessly pounded by Ted Cruz, which we talked about in a previous video, followed by a historic sell-off in Twitter shares on Friday, and after Intercept founder Glenn Greenwald quit and appeared on Tucker Carlson, that was a really good interview too, to accuse the outlet of censoring criticism of Biden. I mean, the guy founded the outlet, The Intercept, and then they turn around and he wrote a piece on this whole Hunter Biden thing, and they censored it. It's like, no, wait a minute. The whole purpose of him founding this was because he was tired of things being covered up by government people, and because it, wasn't the right people. So what do? They turn around and they censor him because it was a cover-up for Joe Biden. So he quit. I mean, he started the thing and he ends up quitting. So again, very good interview there if you haven't seen it. It seems the entire mainstream media ecosystem has finally run out of excuses. And just like that, Hunter Biden and the issue of foreign corruption exposing the former vice president to international blackmail is back on the table. So this is kind of interesting. They're starting to ask more questions about Hunter Biden and to see what's going on. So I think this could be a very interesting time. Maybe we're starting to win back our media. That would be nice if we just get the media to stop telling lies. So I'll leave this down below. It's a good article, well worth reading. Well, this is not a website that I normally pay too much attention to. It's okay, but I don't consider it always authoritative, all right? So normally I don't quote from it. I try to find other sources, but I don't have time to go through all the emails. And what they say is leaked emails reveal Bill Clinton and Hunter Biden planned trip together to Haiti. And so they went through, evidently the Nationalist Review put out a big bunch of emails I haven't had time to go through. So that's why I'm saying it. But it appears that they do have some of these emails here. And if you go through them, it's talking about setting up, like here, this is Hunter Biden saying, hope you're doing well. I wanted to follow up on a conversation I had with President Clinton when I saw him in Arkansas last month. He expressed interest in me potentially joining him on one of his future trips to Haiti. Should the opportunity still exist, I would love to join him, particularly given my role as a member of the board of directors of Friends of the World Food Program. Interesting. I have been in the loop on their efforts on the ground in the country, and it'd be great to see it firsthand. Let me know what you think. The best way to follow up is, okay. So, and it goes on, and it doesn't actually end up saying whether they did meet together and if he went with them. But I think there's a lot of questions about what was going on in Haiti and what the Clintons were doing there. And I think a lot of them have to do with Epstein's Island being not too awful far off the coast of Haiti. So I wanted to share that with you. It doesn't say a whole lot, but you can read through these emails and see what you say about it. Again, I haven't had time to go through, but it does look like these emails are legit. So not one of my favorite sites because it's not always, I always like to find other places that will corroborate what they say, because sometimes they jump the gun and say things without real sources. So that's just my opinion on that particular site. But I'll leave the link down below. You can check it out. Okay, now in my last video that I did, I read the letter by Archbishop Viganò. I don't know that his name's Viganò, but I would assume that the accent on the O at the end is a stress. And so the guy, Bard's on here, pronounces it Viganò. So I don't know, however it's pronounced. My Italian's real rusty. So I didn't have a whole lot of Italian in school. So I can't tell you on that with that particular accent. But anyway, this is part 2 of the interview, and he does talk about, the problems with the Vatican. He really does understand that the Vatican has a true issue with different things dealing with children and other criminal type activities. So he talks about that. This is part 2. The reason I point this one out to you, General Flynn just tweeted this, that this was a very good interview. Here is the link to Bard's, and you can get part 1 here too, if you want to. Now be aware that he did this. He wants to really make sure that it is documented. And so he not only did that, but he has transcripts of the interview, and he has them in English and in Italian. So if you speak Italian, there you go. But here's the English one for that second part of the interview. So if you want to read, if you read faster, then you can listen. But you can also, the nice thing about this is you can speed it up by clicking here. It'll speed up to two times. So, that's good. So I'll leave all these links down below. Here's the transcript, like I said, for that particular part of the interview. So if you want that, you can find that as well. All right. Well, these next 2 have to do with fact checking. Okay. And the thing is, we all know that the fact checkers themselves need to be fact checked. This particular one is really, really weird. And they're trying to do the best they can on fact checking things that they really shouldn't be fact checking. And one of the things that I've noticed, like on Twitter, is that they fact check when you're posting things about ballots. And you're going, yeah, here's an example of a faked ballot. And then they put a thing over it saying, oh, but this claim is not true. They say that there's no evidence of any fraud with the ballots or anything. And the reason is because they won't let you post it. When you post it, they put something over it so people can't see it. So this one, it's just like here. Your Facebook account, 100% fed up, is included based on a post reviewed by NewsGuard, which claims 372,000 mail-in ballots rejected in critical swing state, Pennsylvania, when in reality, 372,000 ballot applications were rejected, a seemingly small but crucial distinction. Voters who were denied a mail-in ballot are still able to vote in person. If you would like to include an on-the-record comment, please let me know as soon as possible. We intend to publish our report tomorrow morning. And so 100% fed up owner Patty McMurray responded to Elliot's email. Hi, Shana. My name is Patty McMurray. I wrote the article you are referring to. Unfortunately, when we wrote the article, ProPublica, the source we used that broke the story, did not, from what I recall, mention applications, but instead focused on mail-in ballots. We were given a fact-check violation by Lead Stories. We immediately corrected our title to add applications within hours. The fact-check violation was removed. End of story. If you want to talk about election-related misinformation, you might want to focus on CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, etc., all who reported a lie that President Trump was somehow working with the Russians to get elected, when in fact it was the Democrats and deep state who pushed a lie about the now disproven Steele dossier funded by Hillary Clinton's campaign. You might also want to look into Hunter Biden's emails and question why the mainstream media refuses to report on his father's involvement in his dirty foreign dealings. But alas, your focus is on the big stuff, like mail-in applications versus mail-in ballots. So NewsGuard is of no interest to me. Feel free to write whatever you'd like. I've actually been waiting for the moment your organization attempted to threaten me again so I could write about NewsGuard and the research I did on the last guy who threatened me from your organization. I've taken over 100 screenshots of David LaPesca's anti-Trump tweets, yet he was posing as a neutral, quote, fact checker for your organization when he contacted us and asked us to give him information that we felt was none of his business. Your so-called fact-check group behaves more like a mob with a shakedown mentality than a professional organization. I will not be threatened by you or anyone at NewsGuard over the prospect of receiving negative press from you. We are two moms who've been publishing accurate conservative news for over 7 years. We have over 2.5 million followers who appreciate our hard work and dedication to the truth. NewsGuard is irrelevant to us. please feel free to print my statement in bold. So, guess what? NewsGuard published their ridiculous smear article titled, Tracking Facebook's Election Misinformation Super Spreaders. And it was a hit piece on 38 major conservative Facebook pages and only 2 small liberal Facebook pages. The Palmer Report and Greg Paulist. Each page has about 100,000 likes. So, it's crazy. This is what they're doing, but it is. And on this one, here was one of the fact checks that they did. They were fact checking the idea that Joe Biden eulogized a former KKK Grand Wizard. Okay, so they say no, he did not. Well, the thing is, they're not really questioning whether he did or not. What they're saying was not true is that Robert Byrd wasn't a Grand Wizard. That wasn't the title. So it's very misleading because they try to make people say that, Robert Byrd wasn't connected with the KKK. Well, he was. He was a Klan recruiter who was so good at it that a clavern was set up, and he received the honorary title of Exalted Cyclops, which is the highest level within a chapter. He was not a Grand Wizard. Okay, so he wasn't a Grand Wizard. He was an Exalted Cyclops of the KKK. So he still was connected to them. So, it's just one of those things. This is how they are trying to fact check things. And this was really a good article. And if you want to read another perspective on it, was here because this one gives some of here was one of the pictures they were mentioning, one of the memes. And so if you have that meme, you might want to change it. If you change it, then it should not be fact checked because it should be true. Anyway, so this was a good article, and down here they have some of the things that go with it because yes, they said it was mostly false. It's just getting crazy what they're doing. Well, here's something that you may not have heard of. There was a store guard who was stabbed 27 times for asking these 2 sisters to wear masks and use sanitizer. So, folks, I'm not real thrilled about wearing masks either, but it's not worth stabbing somebody over. They stabbed him 27 times just because he asked him that. And it was a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, and they left the 32-year-old victim hospitalized in critical condition. So please pray for him. I'm not real thrilled about them forcing us to, telling us you have to wear a mask. But here's the thing. In a lot of places, the store owner can be fined if they don't enforce that rule. In fact, in St. Joe County, that's, where South Bend is, where Pete Buttigieg was the mayor, they're fighting that right now because their health department wants to implement that and to impose a fine on any of the store owners who do not force people to wear masks in their store. And, it's just getting crazy. But anyway, first of all, why did this woman have a knife? Okay. And so, and then they tried to say, well, they both suffer a bipolar disorder. If they get off because of that, shame, shame, shame. I feel for people that have that to struggle with, but yeah, you stab somebody 27 times. First of all, you wear a knife. You take a knife into a store. And so anyway, we're in a crazy time. Yes, we are. Well, this is an interesting article by Zero Hedge here. Nearly 50% of BLM protesters arrested in Seattle were white and from other cities. So of the 95 cases obtained, 48% were white, 18% were black, 28% of the cases race was undetermined or not listed, and 32% of the suspects listed Seattle as hometown. So that means, 32% are the only ones that were actually from Seattle. The rest of them were from outside of there. So kind of weird. It's just the movement is not what it appears to be. It's not what it claims to be. When you start looking at these percentages, only 18% were black. Just seems odd. Just seems odd. On this one, I'm not going to play it for you, but boy, Don Jr. really goes off down here. Here's the video for it, and woohoo! He just burns things up, and he tells it like it is. So really, really good. And, I recommend you listening to this. It was a good clip. I think it's about, 5 minutes, 5.5 minutes. Roger Stone has come out, and he wrote this. I know it says it's by Joe Hoft, but down here it says it is guest post by Roger Stone. So this is technically by Roger Stone, and he lays down how the Democrats plan to steal the 2020 election. I got to tell you, folks, if you've been keeping up with my videos, you probably aren't going to see much in here that's new, because these are the kinds of things that we're seeing happen. They're trying to get the fraudulent votes and figure out how they can get enough of those that they can turn the tide. And, he just goes through all the different things down here where it's just, every once in a while Biden's handlers prop him up and drag him out to a contrived platform appearance somewhere in Pennsylvania, just a short drive from the Biden bunker compound, where the cognitively impaired 78-year-old bumbles his way through Jumbotron teleprompted remarks to some small, highly screened group of voters from a safe distance, of course, no handshaking, baby kissing, or even elbow bumping, just so his media army can show the world proof of life. Well, that's a big, long sentence there. It's all one sentence. So, anyway. Sorry, that's the writer in me. And, I know I've got a whole big bunch of people that put in to help me with my book. And so, I will be getting to you. It's just things came up and I wasn't able to. And my energies had to go in a different direction. So, anyway, pretty much their message is, we hate Trump. Higher taxes and regulation and a reconstituted reign of error by the Democrats' bellicose, ossified political lifers. So he has some really good ones. From all of the polling I have examined, this presidential race may be as close as the Bush v. Gore race in 2000 and the 1960 contest between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon. Bush v. Gore was, of course, resolved in the U.S. Supreme Court. I disagree with them. I think it's going to be much wider. I don't think it's going to be close. But it depends on how many fraudulent ballots they can put in. So that would be one of the things. And he goes down and talks about some other stuff. I mean, there might be a few things in here that you would find different, but it involves plans for engineering election fraud scenarios and then using election fraud as the pretext to engineer mass protests intended to cast doubt on the legitimacy of election results, which I can see that happening. And he says, I firmly believe and can look into their long history of engaging in it that Democrat criminals are and will be engaging in widespread voter fraud in various forms, including mail-in voting abuse, illegal ballot harvesting, multiple votes cast by one individual, votes cast in the name of persons who are deceased or no longer reside in the voting jurisdiction, and manipulation of computerized voting machine tabulations. I want to tell you, okay? Got to tell you this, guys. I did go vote on Thursday, like I was talking about. And that was one reason why I didn't get a video out on Thursday. But I had to wait in line about an hour. When I got there, I had to wait for maybe 15 to 20 minutes outside where there was a little low wall, and I got to sit down for part of that. And then when we got up to the door and actually got inside the courthouse, the guy that was doing the metal screening, which they wouldn't let you take your cell phone in. You had to put your cell phone in a little locker before you could actually go in, which was kind of sad because I would have liked to have taken a picture of this, what I'm going to tell you here. But anyway, as I'd been standing in line, the guy was standing next to I had told him that I needed to sit down more, and I was trying to sit down so much when I could outside, and why I needed to because of the chronic fatigue syndrome. So then I get to the metal detector, and the guy behind me told him, he said, well, she needs to go a little further up in line because, she has trouble standing. And it was really nice of him to say that, because I doubt if I would have said it myself. And, I was getting very tired by then. So the guy at the metal detector thing, he got me to a place. They had a bench there, and he had me sit on the bench. And then he said, well, you can sit there, and then when this guy comes up, you go behind him. And, they had the tape on the floor 6 feet apart and everything. So by the time it got to this little door that you went into that took you back into the office where they had everything set up. Well, it was really nice there because every 6 feet they had a chair and you could sit on the chair. So I got to sit. So it worked out very well. I was very tired from it. But it worked out okay. The guys there that were helping were very helpful. But anyway, they took us in. By the time I got up to the machines, I was really getting tired, but there were 3 machines. They only had 3. And it's like, hello, how many you're so busy. They had a steady stream like all day. When I was there, they were getting, I think they said they had 280 some votes that day, which you only got 3 machines. It takes a while to get people through and everything. So, they checked my ID and all that. And then they put me on this one machine that was a different machine than the others. Now, it was like not real different. The machine itself was the same, but it was attached to this, there was this black box behind it. And the guy says, he said, well, do you know how to use these machines? I said, yeah, I've voted several times. I know how to use the machine. He goes, well, I'm going to throw you a curve. He said, this box here is something new, and, it's like a prototype, and they're probably going to be using it for the next election. They'll have them on all the machines. Okay, so what it was, like I said, it was like a black box, and it had on it a little screen, not an electronic screen, but just like a little piece of plastic, and then there was paper underneath it, like a tape. And so when I went through my vote, it got down to, I went through them all. I don't like doing a straight ticket just because I like actually pushing the buttons. So I like the individual buttons because I want to make sure I'm hitting the right person. Even though I end up usually all red, but I just like to do that. So anyway, I did all of them. I get down there and it says verify your ballot. So I push the button and all of a sudden it printed on that little screen. Like on the tape behind the little plastic window. It printed out. It was a printout of everybody on the first page of the ballot. And so I looked at them, I checked them, and it's like, yeah, that's everybody. Okay, I got everybody I want. The major one I had to see was Donald J. Trump. That was really good. And so then I went to pushed it again, and I got the second screen, and I could check it. And that was like people like county commissioners and stuff like that. And so it had a printout. And then when I hit the button that would, cast the ballot, then the tape of it just and went up and into the machine so you couldn't see it, and it was all white again. So evidently they're trying to get a paper trail so that they have a backup, to the machines. I think that's a really good idea as far as I'm concerned. So I'm all for it. I hope they do that with all of them. And so anyway, I just thought I would share that with you. And so for those of you who were concerned about me standing that long, I was concerned too, but it did work out. I was considering taking, my mom has a type of walker that's like where you actually stand up and you rest your arms on little armrests up at the top, just like you're standing there. And but it's really big and bulky, and I hesitated. I don't want to admit that I can't walk sometimes. And so I don't want to admit that I'm ready to use a walker. I know it's an arrogance thing, but it did have a seat on it. And so I really did consider borrowing that, which wouldn't have been a problem because my mom doesn't like that one because it's too big for her. But I just decided not to. The line didn't look that long, so I figured, well, okay, we'll see what happens, and I'm just going to tough it out if I have to. But, oh, man, Friday, my legs hurt so bad. I spent a lot of time in bed Friday. But that's because in the middle of the night, someone woke me up and I ended up having to do another video that I wasn't intending on. So that's all right. It was a good video. That letter was incredible. So anyway, let me just finish up a few more here. This one, the Biden campaign is now lying about a campaign car involved in a highway accident. Their campaign car drove into a Trump supporter's truck. Then they take pictures of damage to their car. This is exactly how Democrats operate. Vote them out. Okay, now, I'm going to tell you here, folks, I'm not sure I agree with this. I've watched it a few times, and the situation we have, I'm going to kind of show it to you here. Let me back it up. Oh, that's not good. Okay, here's our situation. There was a Biden-Harris bus that was going out of town. There was this white vehicle that was with them, and I think it has like a flag on top that said Biden or something like that. Trump truck. Okay? Now, when you watch this, I'm going to actually mute it because this girl says bad word. So you don't need to hear her. Anyway, so I'm not real sure what was going on here. Unfortunately, the girl was panning up this way, so she didn't catch it early enough, in my opinion. I think when it started out that this car was behind the Biden bus and this truck was over in the next lane because there's another lane over there. So I don't know. I think the truck did push him off. But let me show you the situation, okay? So this girl, she was watching it, and again, see, the truck is over here in that other lane, the far lane. And this vehicle right here is right behind, and then she pulls back here. If she'd have kept it up there just for a few more seconds. Okay, here's where it starts. So see, I think the only way for that to happen is that truck had to have gone from its other lane and pushed this car over. Of course, the Republican people that have seen this are saying, no, this car tried to push the truck. I don't see how that's possible, guys, because this was the situation. This truck was here. That car was there. It was behind the bus. So how did this guy get over there? Again, you can't really see because she pans back. You know, if she wouldn't have done this, which I understand what she was trying to do, but yeah. So it looks like this guy bullied that over. I don't know. I'll leave it so you can watch it yourself, and that's a really bad picture. I don't know. And now they're trying to say that was election interference because that truck did that. So I don't know. I hope that's not what really happened. It's hard to tell. And again, if she wouldn't have panned back at just that moment, you would see. But that white car, that white vehicle was behind the bus. So I don't know how that truck got over there. It wasn't like the truck was there and the white vehicle tried to go over. I don't know, guys. I think the guy in the black truck was not right. But that's my opinion. You can check it out and see what you have to say. All right. Well, I'm going to leave this for you. I'm not going to play it, but this guy is running, this is Joe Collins here, is running for office against Maxine Waters. And his videos, his ads are really, really good. So I'll leave this. This is another one of those. And I think probably his ads are going to reach his demographic because I think the people that live in that area will really respond to the type of ads he has. But I'll leave that so you can see it because he's talking about her being corrupt and everything. So I think they're good ads. I hope he wins. That's one that I'm really cheering for. And then Chanel Rion has been doing a series on the different information they've been pulling off of the Hunter Biden laptop. And this particular one right here is about tax liens. Now, I already mentioned this in a video a long time ago. It seems like that there were unpaid taxes by Jim Biden and maybe Hunter and somebody else, it seems like. So I already kind of mentioned that, but she's going to be doing more of a report on it. So she has been really working on it, and if you keep up with OAN, you'll probably be able to pick up on those different pieces that they're doing, because they're trying to get the truth out there as best they can. That and the New York Post are two places to keep your eye on. So one last thing, and I don't have the post. There was a post on Half Chan that, half of 8 is 4, for those of you who may not be able to understand that. And it said that Hunter Biden had already kind of turned himself in and was pretty much singing about everything and had provided them with all the information they needed. And that sometime this weekend or before Tuesday, Joe was going to be forced to make a decision about how he was going to handle this. I don't know that that's true, guys. Okay, it was a post by an anonymous person on the Chan. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. And we won't know until it happens. So be prepared. I think there is something big going to happen between now and Tuesday. There's still information coming out. The Chinese dissidents are still putting out more of Hunter Biden's stuff. I haven't been watching it because, frankly, I just don't want to see more. I really don't. And, there are people who have stronger constitutions probably that don't mind watching that, but I just really don't care to fill my mind with that kind of stuff. And so I'll let the law enforcement and everybody else deal with that. All right, but I've seen enough to know that what they're saying is accurate. And so that's all I'm going to say on that. But anyway, keep up with them. I think it's really important that we're doing that because there's so much that's coming out, and who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. Every day is just a new thing. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I'm sorry this was so long, folks, but it just, there's so much. And I feel like I go through these and it's like, well, I could leave this out and I could leave that out, but I'm leaving out so much already. I really had this many that I could have done again. And the only problem I have is the time it takes for my computer to render them and for me to edit them. It takes so long that I just can't put out more. One a day is about all I can manage. And sometimes not even that. So I don't know. I'm just like, I can't imagine what President Trump is feeling right now. The guy has probably not been sleeping much, and I know he won't tomorrow on Sunday because, he's got that one at 11 o'clock at night. So, I don't know. He's a machine. I wish I had that much energy. So, anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later. Instructed and disciplined to carry into action slavishly the assignments given them by their hierarchical and are organized, instructed, and disciplined to carry into action slavishly the assignments given them by their hierarchical chieftains. Oh my gosh, I'm not having any problems saying words tonight, am I? How far back do I have to go? And disciplined to carry... Stop. And disciplined to carry into action slavishly the assignments given them by their hierarchical chieftains.